Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our major stories. Trial begins for the people suspected to have been involved in last year's attack at St. Philip's Catholic Church, Ozubulu, Anambra State, which left 13 people dead. Supreme Court upholds trial of Pt.2 insists the former PDP spokesman has a case to answer. Interpol commends Nigeria's anti-corruption fight, says is a model for other African countries. And twin blast at a mosque in Libya leaves 3 people dead. For more on our top stories and others, just check out our website. It's channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to watch us on your mobile device or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. And there's more. The Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You also have the Eyewitness feature with which you can share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. And talking about pictures, here are some of them you sent into our Eyewitness portal today. We have these pictures and videos, beginning with this one from the Kara end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway here in Lagos, showing the scene of an accident. According to our Eyewitness reporter, 2 trucks struggled for the right-of-way, causing one to lose balance and eventually fall and threw all the goods it was loaded with on the road. The situation resulted in a traffic jam until some other motorists arranged and organized themselves to clear the goods off the road. Our Eyewitness reporter appreciates the efforts of the policemen on duty who also chipped in. And still on accidents is this next image from Tungagoro T Junction in Minna, the Niger State capital. According to our Eyewitness reporter, the accident involved 2 cars at the junction, but thankfully no life was lost. And still in Minna, Niger State, is this picture showing people whom our Eyewitness reporter says are students of home economics during a practical class. Our Eyewitness reporter is impressed by the method of teaching the students, both male and female, on how to cook at such a tender age. And finally is this image also about students from Owo in Ondo State, showing these people, whom our Eyewitness reporter says are nursing students during an awareness campaign on Lassa fever. He says the campaign became important to draw attention to the residents to the cause of the disease. Many thanks for sending in those pictures, and we do encourage you to keep them coming. A peaceful protest against the new toll at the Lekki-Ekpe Highway has been hijacked by hoodlums who attacked journalists covering the march and disrupted the entire process. Our correspondent, Kayode Okihiolu, reports that the timely intervention of the police saved the day.
This is the Lekki toll gate, a must-use for hundreds of commuters daily. Managed by the Lekki Concession Company, the structure has remained the subject of controversy. First was the disagreement over toll, and now increased tariff, which came into effect on February the 1st, 2018. These protesters have taken to the streets to show their opposition to the hike, which they describe as unfair. At their meeting point, they are welcomed by the heavy presence of men of the police force who are here to maintain the peace and ensure that the protesters do not obstruct traffic.
We'll manage the situation in such a way that nobody will be affected.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, that is our interest. Okay. You want to hear from the LCC? Yes. We'll make contact with officials of the LCC to come and address you. You want to move around the way? We want to implore you to conduct yourself in such a way.
Oh, thank you. Affect
other members of the public.
That's
all we want here.
The procession is peaceful up until the arrival of these men, who in spite of heavy police presence succeed in not just disrupting the march, but also attacking journalists and damaging Channels Television's recording device. After some scuffle, they are arrested by the police and the protest resumes.
We know that this issue has generated a lot of ripples for many years back. And we know Lagos State government has been able to buy back the contract in 2013. And those demands are what we are now demanding, that total cancellation, one, full audited report of the financial statement of LCC, the status of Lagos State government on the contract, having bought back the contract in 2013.
The LCC says this hike is as a result of current economic realities, which have increased the cost of maintaining its loan obligations. But despite this surge and resulting controversy, motorists still ply this route, mainly as a matter of necessity. Kayode Okikiolu, Channels Television News.
And let's cross over to our Abuja studios, where Gloria has some political and health stories. Hello, Gloria.
Hello, Melinda. 3 decades after many African countries embraced democracy, not much can be said in terms of the benefits of that system to the nation. This is the view of a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Atahiru Jega, who has scored Africa low in democratic practice. He was speaking at an event organized by the Center for Democracy and Development in Abuja, where he and some activists listed corruption, non-inclusion, and sit-tight presidency as some of the challenges still confronting democracy on the continent.
Taking to the streets to show their opposition to the hike, which they describe as unfair. At their meeting point, they are welcomed by the heavy presence of men of the police force who are here to maintain the peace and ensure that the protesters do not obstruct traffic.
We'll manage the situation in such a way that nobody will be affected. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. That is our interest. Okay. You want to hear from the LCC? Yes. We'll make contact with officials of the LCC to come and address you. You want to move around the way?
Providing stability and development is creating instability and crisis, and how also governance that is a product of this democratic transition is failing to satisfy the fundamental needs and aspirations of the people.
Some other speakers list areas of concerns that they want addressed if democracy is to be fully entrenched. According to them, democracy has brought little or no changes to the life of the common man.
The popular masses deserve a better deal. Their voices are still not defining the conversation, though they are ever present, but always not invited to the table. That is debatable. Some people will say it's happening, but for us it's not happening.
And there were solutions on how the African continent can get it right democratically. The first step, according to one of the speakers, is the inclusion of vulnerable persons in governance.
A continuing exclusion of the representation of a group of people that are more than 50% of the populations in our countries, I think is a major question and an issue.
After hours of deliberation, participants at this event conclude that the narrative in the region can still be changed if leaders agree to put the interest of their people first.
As part of the week-long activities to mark the 2018 World Cancer Day in Abuja, some federal lawmakers as well as cancer survivors are appealing to the federal government to provide adequate funding for cancer care in Nigeria. The deputy chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Health wants the federal and state governments to make adequate financial provisions to make cancer treatment affordable for all.
An estimated 100,000 people are diagnosed with various types of cancers every year in Nigeria, with a death ratio of 4 in every 5 persons living with the disease. That's according to the World Health Organization. Federal lawmakers Cancer care experts and representatives of the federal government are in this hall to chart the way forward for achieving government's target to reducing cancer death in Nigeria by 25% by the year 2020.
Part of our efforts must be to push the government towards ensuring that sufficient funding is really met. That is just the only way we can address cancer squarely.
There is an urgent need for sustainable funding for cancer care and treatment in Nigeria. The cost of treatment is so high that thousands of Nigerians cannot afford cancer drugs.
The urgent need for collaboration between the government and corporate organizations is also advanced by participants as a means of finding sustainable cancer care for patients.
We believe that prevention is better than cure and cheaper than cure. It is only when all of us as individuals and as a collective body play our part that a significant improvement can be noticed in the efforts to curb the increasing cancer burden.
The incidence of cancer is actually more in Western Europe and in some other Western countries. But the death rate between those countries and our own country is fairly the same. This is to tell you that there is a huge inequality in terms of treatment, huge inequality in terms of care.
According to the Nigeria Cancer Organization, an estimated 80,000 cancer patients die annually in the country, making Nigeria a major contributor to the global cancer death ratio of about 8.8 million people every year.
For more on health matters, the Delta State Ministry of Environment is taking precautionary steps to get rid of rats in order to prevent vector-carrying diseases such as the dreaded Lassa fever. The state government is carrying out fumigation exercise in major markets across the states with the aim of creating awareness and to enlighten the people on how to stay safe. Lassa fever is an acute illness transmitted through contaminated food by rodents, urine, and excreta.
A stitch in time, they say, saves 9. This appears to be what the Delta State Ministry of Environment is bringing to bear after announcing the re-emergence of Lassa fever in the state. As part of measures being taken against the spread of the disease, the ministry is fumigating major markets in the state to get rid of rats that transmit the disease. The exercise begins at the ever-busy Ogogonugo market in Asaba, the state capital. And for some other markets, night fumigation is the only option. Officials of the Ministry of Environment in charge of the fumigation are happy with the level of compliance.
So far, it's been a very successful exercise. The executive in the Abraka market, the Hausa leaders, they were very supportive. There was a very good compliance there. Even in Cable market, we were so surprised. It means the sensitization by the ministry has really gone a long way because the people were already aware and they don't want to die of Lassa fever and they were applauding the government.
Some traders in the affected markets commend the efforts of the government.
As regard to the exercise, it's a very nice thing. At least it will help to control the so-called Lassa fever. And it's the good sanitation which is being carried out at the right time. It's also for the interest of the marketers and even those who come to buy from them. So it's a welcome development.
According to the Commissioner for Environment, the well-being of all residents is top priority.
Measures we've gone sensitizing people that they should get rid of the vector carrier, which is the rat. People should cover their food, they should seal their food up, they should not be exposed to vectors. We do deratization every 3 months. We don't wait for it. That we are always proactive. We are proactive in issue when it comes to disease surveillance.
Fumigation is just one part of getting rid of Lassa fever, as the Delta State government also appeals to residents to maintain a high level of hygiene.
When the news at 10 returns, Nigeria's total revenue from crude export rises by 29% to 7.3 trillion naira in 2017 on increased production and higher oil price. That's in business news. Let's join us again.